Hello, I'm the Smoking Cheddar, but you probably already knew that. Now, last week we covered how badly I got my ass handed to me in this gold conquest, and this week we are going to just reset all of our units, and look forward into what we're doing next, which is we're going back into silver. There's not much point in me hanging around in gold if I'm only good to take casualties for the alliance. Not necessarily a bad thing, but not necessarily a great thing for me either. I struggled to make the 25k. In fact, I haven't made it as of this stream or VOD if you're watching in the future. Hello, future viewers. No, I didn't actually make my 25k this time. I made it to just over 20. So I've probably taken more casualties this conquest than I have actually inflicted. The amount of ground where I was able to utilize my infantry and artillery combo was fairly limited. By the end of the second day, the hostile coalition to east was basically locked into the safe zone, so I couldn't use my ground troops, forcing me into a naval situation, which wouldn't have been a problem had I been in silver, but in gold I needed 8.2 in order to compete, and I pumped all of those points directly into the Martyr armored destroyer, which was both a good and bad thing. I was able to assist the alliance by pushing bases when I was online, but I wasn't able to solo bases. Just didn't have the damage output as a result of having two underpowered missile destroyers, a missile destroyer, sorry, and a guided surface anti-air missile destroyer. Yeah, so a guided missile destroyer and anti-air missile destroyer. You can see it on the screen, just over to one side there. Um, so what we're going to do today is we're just going to literally take everything off, place everything on reset, and pump it all back up ready to take into silver 2. We'll get it to silver 2 standard because paper where I normally play is a silver 2 alliance, and then we'll go from there. We'll start to crank things up as we need, perhaps for the navy, for in terms of getting the missions done as we need, because at the minute, like I said, we've realistically only got one ship. So let's start off with pulling units off of our list. Obviously the fighter's going to have to be reset. The entire navy, well, not the entire navy, to be fair, just two. Just two of them need to be reset, and the entire ground force also needs to be reset. And we'll have a look at a few other bits and pieces that we might be interested in as well. Right. Reset. Can we reset? There we go. We'll just do one at a time. Okie dokie. Let's just bash through these. As always, guys, if you want to chime in at any stage and leave a question, this is live, so I can react to them as we go. And I'll also show you what I'm planning as we go forwards as well for what we're expecting to be hitting in silver. Okay, I think that's everything reset. So the best thing we can do now is reapply our units and begin training them immediately. He says completely missing. We'll pop that in. Infantry. They need the Martyr gun. You're the anti-tank gun. And you are the Liberty guns, respectively. Now, which ones do I have as which? The ice one is the defensive one, isn't it? And the grey one as the siege secondary. Okay, right. So we'll now be able to see what we're left with in terms of components, etc. Let's have a look. So we have 125 Liberty, 134 Martyr, and 106 Vanguard. And it's the Vanguard that's really going to cause us an issue going into uh, the conquests, because I've got 5 Vanguard units, and having a low amount of Vanguard prototype pieces is unfortunately a bit of a problem. Right, so we want these set to 120. Now, I never try to overcap my units. I always try to keep them at cap for what I'm planning. I think this is a good idea. It's a good practice. It gives you an accurate view of where your power actually is in terms of how this unit can be used. We're not getting any false readings on our capabilities, before we go in. Oh, we need to apply the skin, because for some reason it resets the skin as well on the infantry. Don't know why. And we'll bump him straight up to 8.0. Quick enhance. No. Yes. Right. So that's us 8.0 cap, and then we just move in for the parts. Level 100. Yeah. Complete that one. Complete that one. And move on to the next one. 120. Pop in the parts. Kind of want the better parts on this out of the 2 Liberty units, as this one is also doubling up as a siege gun. So we like to be able to absolutely put the hurt on the enemy when we attack in their base. Quick enhancement complete. Now, I don't think we'll worry about doing enhancements on anything else at this moment in time. Wrenches, that is, because we're going to have a look at where we're at with our wrenches as we go forwards. That's because I've reset the fighter, and obviously the fighter was capped 2020, so we kind of need to make sure we get that recapped with its wrenches before we start looking at doing anything on the ground. And the same goes for our navy as well. We want to look at making sure we get the Martyr destroyer capped out before we start looking at anything else on the ocean. And this one. And modify. It's my favorite bit. Bringing everything back to where it was. Hopefully, I think we can run everything at 8.0. I'm pretty sure we can. What I'm going to do is I'm probably going to save up all of my prototype pieces that I'm not using, and I'm just going to dump them into the Navy. That way I can push down the Navy mission tree get that done as quickly as possible, or at least get a little bit further in it. You could argue I might not necessarily needed to have reset my navy, but well, we'll see. We shall see. And that is, I think everything on ground is 8.0 now. I believe it's 8.0 capped. Yes, well done. Level 120. Level 120. Yep. Okay, so everything on the ground is now ready. We're going to just move on to the Air Force and bring that up to speed quickly. We'll do the same here as well. We're just looking to get everything up and running at 8.0 at its maximum level at the moment in time. And then we'll worry about the wrenches and everything else from there. Make sure the fighter, this fighter in particular, gets all the best parts. This is where the prototype pieces are going to start to really hurt me. Not having all of the ones unlocked that I want. Are we capped 120? Oh, we are already. I didn't put any... Oh, wow. We'll pretend that I didn't just do an entire gold conquest with my bomber that badly stricken for... for its modify. I completely forgot to do anything with that. It was still quite effective, to be fair. It still picked off the odd unit here and there, even at 7.2, but yeah, that's a bit silly of me, wasn't it? 120. Why is it all the way down here? Look. Oh, I've already got it at 120. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. We got actually got parts on this thing then? We do indeed. No. Right. Quick enhance that. Now we just move on to the Navy. We're going to work on the Navy first, and then we'll work backwards from there. Because ideally, we actually want the Navy at level 200, as I said, so we can do the campaign, which is I'm languishing on that so hard that it's embarrassing. We need the HP. We need the HP. Prototype, bring that up to 8.0. Yeah. Skip. Quick enhance. This will also be quite interesting to see how much power I've gone down by in terms of how far ahead I was. It'll be quite good, I hope. And quick enhance the missile destroyer. Nice. Okay, so we can now bring the anti-air destroyer up to spec. We'll bring it up to 120 first, because this one I wasn't able to actually get to cap at all last conquest. So it'll be interesting to see if I've now acquired enough components in order to get it that far. Which I have by the looks of things. But I don't have enough for the modify. Right, okay. How much further? I can bring it up to 140. May as well max out some of the modify on it. Doesn't really matter which one I don't max out. At least it gives us an idea of where we need to go. Okay, let's throw the wrenches in, level 100. Unlock modern mechanic. I'm not expecting my navy to be anywhere near as good as what I want it to be, because I didn't actually. Oh, only 76. Yeah, I did. So I can't get to level 100. So I've only got 2 at level 100 classic. Sorry, 1 at level 100 classic and capped out on modern. And my missile destroyer is actually below cap on its wrenches at 76 classic. And we've got missing modify on the anti-air destroyer, but we're only 72k short on the quick modify tab. So 72k sounds like a lot, but realistically, in terms of what we're trying to achieve, which is preparing ourselves for silver, that's not too bad. It could be better. It's certainly not that bad. We're obviously slightly low on the actual level as well. Actually, no, we'll be fine because we're going into silver. That will be capped to 120, so that'll be all right. Okay, so we'll move on to the Air Force. We're going to dump a maximum amount of parts into one of the fighters because I don't like not having access to one absolutely pure filth fighter when we go in, because this thing will save my backside so much. Ground Force. I think we get everything up to classic first before we start worrying about everything else. Or do we? Because this is the siege gun. We'll do that. We'll complete the siege gun, and we'll complete the secondary siege gun, as this is like our main. This is our main effort going forwards on the ground. We're not really. We do have 2 defensive artillery pieces, but we're not really a defensive base. We just want it to be difficult to be attacked, not impossible. Right. Move on to the ATG. Level 100. I don't think we've got enough to cap out this one as no, this one. Oh, we do. That's interesting. I didn't realize I got that many wrenches in gold. This will be the real test then. No, not quite. So we've got everything to classic on the ground, and we are only just a handful of wrenches away from completing the ground cap at 8.0 for silver 2. That's actually pretty good. I'm really excited for that because that's going to be really devastating going into the next conquest. Seal clubbing in silver. It is what it is. Finally caught alive. How do you get your navy components as much as you have? Basically, how I've been getting all of my navy components is dumping myself onto the ocean, getting my armored destroyer out, and just picking fights with absolutely everything that yields the ammo, and then pumping that ammo in. And then when I go to my naval campaign, I solely pick this every time. Every time I come to the naval campaign, I just pick that every single time without fail. And there you have it. That's how I got all of my naval force components. As for the advanced components, I haven't bought any of them. I have picked them all up as I've gone through the game. So if we look under supplies, where is it? It's here. Yeah. So this 88 here that we've got spare, which we're not using, all of those I've picked up, just completed these crates. As you can see, I've not actually assembled any of these crates because I don't need them because I play a lot in silver. So until I actually need them, I won't assemble them. But yeah, you get these all the time. You get them through certain events that they do every month as well. You know, like when you uh, every other week, for example, when it's the arms race week, not the battle honors week, you get the event where if you do 10 levels on walls, you get them, but they're for ground and for air. But there is another one for navy. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head though. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We are now ready in terms of what we want for um, going out on the ground. That being said, the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that we have some infantry here that is at 7.1. Well, I didn't actually live stream any of my field fighting in silver, the silver previous that I was just in, but my infantry were doing pretty gnarly things because of the amount of tech I've pumped into them. So what I've decided to do is I've decided to get another infantry unit, and that will be interchanged. Now, for those of you who caught those live streams a couple of months ago where I was in the Conquest prior, you'll have remembered that I had, I think, a helicopter and I had a rocket launcher on side down here that I could just swap in as needs be. And I often tell people one key piece of advice whenever I'm doing this, which is play to tech. Now, what does that mean? So, if we are building lots of tanks and we're using lots of tanks, and you have lots of tank tech, it doesn't make sense for you to then be dogpiling a bunch of wrenches and a bunch of equipment and boxes for parts into, say, the artillery or the air force or the infantry. Well, most of my tech, in fact, nearly all of my tech, is either infantry or artillery. So, at the when I was doing the field fighting, I noticed that my helicopter was much higher in power than a lot of the other helicopters I was coming up against, and it was just getting slapped. And I kept sitting there thinking to myself, "How am I letting this happen? What am I doing differently that is causing me to lose this?" And then I just remembered a core tenet of my own advice, which is play to tech. So I started using my infantry in a more aggressive role and started using my infantry with offensive officers and started absolutely murdering stuff. And I was like, why did I just not have multiple infantry units specifically for field fighting? So that's what this guy is for. So now we have all of our um, prototypes up here, you'll notice that I actually have one more reverse assembly available. Now, now I could get a Vanguard infantry because there is a new skin available and it is Vanguard infantry. And the Vanguard infantry will allow me to use a critical strike build. And I have two critical strike officers that I'm not currently using. So this would be a good opportunity for me to do that. However, in doing so, in order to maintain my camp bonuses, it would mean I'd have to pull my anti-tank gun out of my lineup. This is not necessarily a bad thing if I'm specifically field fighting. In fact, it's also a pretty good thing in base to base. So I have a choice. I could either go down the Liberty tree right now and use a utility based infantry squadron, or I could use Vanguard and have a sideboard of officers ready to simply swap in with Vanguard infantry. I won't be able to do 3 lots of infantry because I need to use at least one of these temporary advanced prototype pieces, and then I need to use my gold coins to buy another one in order to do it. So I could have the Vanguard infantry, and then I could go and get the skin for them, and then just give them another 7% health. But I'm not really sure if I should do that because I've been saving up my blue tokens quite a lot, and I've got quite a few. So my blue tokens, they're currently sat at 2,300. Now, for full disclosure, because I don't like to bullshit, yes, there is an event on, and I did buy the £10 pack, which gives you the extra blue tokens. I don't advise spending money on this game ever. It is async, as we discussed last week. The game is on its final legs. You do this at your own risk. But I did want the blue tokens. Now, here's the thing: I could get the Crimson Ember, but you see here it's for the Vanguard division, which is it's put me in a bit of a precarious situation because I was saving up 4,000 blue tokens for the next fighter skin to drop, because sometimes the gold fighter skin for Vanguard drops in this store. And if I do this and take this now, it's going to basically set my fighters back. But all of my tech is into the infantry and the navy and the artillery. So this would benefit me technically. And as I said, in a base to base scenario, I'm not using my anti tank gun. The only time I'm using my anti tank gun is if they are online. If they are not online, then realistically, I could be using the infantry and I could be using that overlapping bunker. So, just talking out loud while we're on stream, it does sound more and more like I should probably go with a Vanguard and then keep the Liberty one stored at 7.1 with its components, and just sort of plan to build into that one for not the following conquest, but the one thereafter, where I'll have another 2 temporary prototype pieces, and then I can, 2 temporary prototype reverse blueprints, and I can then basically build it up to 7.2 more or less immediately. So I think maybe as we're sitting here thinking about it, I think this is probably the way forwards. Infantry, I love my infantry after I got to play with them out in the field, and they were absolutely disgusting. I will at some point be able to show you what it can do. But yeah, if we play to tech, the extra infantry is better in base to base than the anti tank gun is. Unless they're online, of course. I don't want to because I've been saving it, but there we go. It's done now. We've just got the skin. 7% unit HP, which is going to go a long way because obviously the Vanguard infantry has the lowest amount of HP. Let's prototypes, reverse assembly, 7.1. Oh, good. We do have a 7.1. I should have really checked. I should have really checked. Really, I should have checked before we got to this stage. Because if I'd had it at just 7.0, I would have been having kittens. Right. Now, what will be interesting is if we bring this up to 120, we max out the modify, parts. I'm pretty confident I've got some better parts available for this. Blast mitigation or HP? Well, let's see what we get out of it. Apparently, that's all we're going to get out of it. I guess I will go fuck myself. We've got one of these available. Can we get a 0.2? We cannot. Grenades. Oh, we've got one of the regular ones available. Okay. Morphine is that's HP, isn't it? I don't really want the HP. I want the chain locks. I want the firepower. If we're building it, if it's a crit build. Well, Nadgers. Okay, let's see what we can. Bunker damage resist is higher on that one, but we do get blast mitigation on that one. We'll take the blast mit. We'll take the blast mit for now. HP troop speed. That's gash. Oh, we do have some firepower ones not in use. Okay. So we've got two side-by-side comparisons. We're looking at... Let's see what it's like with the skin. Oh man, that looks sick as fuck. So we're looking at 440 and 209 versus... okay. That's not giving us much more. We could always see if we could maybe it might be a good idea then to forge an HP part. Or not. You know, we could just have trash parts. That's fine. That's bringing us fairly close. So these are fairly close in power and HP. There's not really a lot in it. Slightly more blast mitigation on this one here by 1.4, which isn't really that great. We do have more firing accuracy on this one, and obviously this is going to be crit based rather than utility. Let's open up some blueprints. Or not, because we've only got like 7 of them. We did get a grenade though, that was lucky. You never know, it might be a gold plus perfect. Or it might just be shit. Well, let's have a look at the unit. Let's see where it's really falling behind in parts. Gold, it's pretty much this down here, isn't it? The medical supplies, the HP and firepower. So we can either have... I don't know how many of the gold crates we've got. How many of the gold crates have we got? Was it parts? Blueprints? Blueprints? We've got 9. I don't like the sound of that. I mean, I might get like one semi-decent part out of it. That's the problem. So do I want to put it into an HP one, or do I want to put it into a firepower one? That's all very irritating to ask. I don't like it. We're just going to leave it as it is then. So that brings us into the final stage of this, which is to go into the Conquest store. And here you see we've got 9 gold tokens, and it is only 8 for a temporary. And if we go ahead and buy the temporary, and about if we just hop on over to the prototypes, reverse assembly, wrong one, Egypt. Okay. So at the start of the next conquest, obviously, I'll just simply buy another one of these and bump this um, up to 8.0 immediately, and then I will have 2 infantry ready to rock. So that means we're going to need um, we're going to need to change the officer setup along here. So we'll go for this one, and we will save formation. Yeah, that'll do. I think that's all right. And then that's L3 defense. Can we change from here? We cannot. Boo. Right, so what we'll do is we'll set up a... Hang on. Oh, no. Okay, that does work. And that also works. Interesting. And then we're going to want some crit build. We've got 2 crit officers. And then what we need to do is sort out the gear, because he's going to need some gear. You're out of rotation, so that can go in there. You're training Maestro, so in this scenario, we don't need you. Smart move. That's officer skill boost. That's normal attack boost of the unit. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll change this normal attack boost for a 4% critical strike rate. We will take that balanced back on you, and offense we will take damage intensity when attacking fortifications. Well, we are going to be using you against fortifications, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Damage intensity 15%, maybe. Increases the firepower of this officer's infantry by 10%, and increases it by an extra 4% when in bunker mode. Firepower would be kind of nice. We don't really need it though. Damage intensity of 6%, meh. Do you know what? I think we'll go with this one. I don't think we've got any available gear. That gives us troop HP, but that's all we're getting out of it is troop HP, because it's all tank crit rate and tank load time reduction and tank damage intensity. I mean, we could just use it. It's 10% HP. It's not ideal, but we can use it. And then if we look at the army, so that's set up for a base. That's set up for a base. So is that. And then you will basically have infantry. So we'll change the name on this one to Inf B2B, and then we will save formation. And then I don't think there's anything else we need to do, is there? We don't need to change the air at the moment. And the Navy, we don't really need to change at the moment. So we'll just set up for L3 defense. This is like my go-to because we're going to be using the anti-tank gun for a variety of things. This isn't just to defend the base, we can also use it to hit air units. And obviously we get splash damage with Stinger Fist. And the reason why we're using Saber of Nation on the base to base setup is because we do get a chance to pop off an additional skill shot whenever we attack. So this is why we're using this, because we can effectively deal more skill damage to a hostile base. I personally think that's a pretty good idea. This was actually brought to my attention by Dan, a friend of ours in the community over on Discord. He was like, "Why don't you just use Saber of Nation? Because of the chance on hit, you do get a chance to pop off a skill shot." He is correct. He is correct. That's why I originally got him in the first place. Is he necessarily a good officer? Is he worth unlocking and awakening? Not really. If you have him awake, then yeah, you can use him in this manner as an additional siege officer. He has field artillery and skills as his 3 tags, so you can kind of use him. Ideally, you want him with a +1 officer, +1 map grid, so you can get the most out of that damage because he gets a +100 skill shot for each map grid between him and the target. Obviously, in a base to base situation, you're firing at basically the maximum range of an artillery piece anyway. So, yeah, it's pretty decent. And having access to the additional infantry when you are in a base to base scenario is going to give you the extra umbrella of the bunker defense. Now, we've all just seen the infantry I have constructed. So now's probably a good time to show you guys how I come up with my ideas for these builds. So I've done videos like this in the past where I've tried to explain the process, and it doesn't really work, me trying to explain the process. So I've just shown you the process. I've shown you that, hey, I've got access to a Vanguard skin. I can use that. I can build a Vanguard unit for the next conquest. I can use that. So let's explore why I went Vanguard over the Liberty. And if we access our trusty tech tree, remember at the start of this I said always play to your tech. Well, this is why. So this is how I come up with these ideas. It is basically predominantly through this tree, and then with this tree I then look at what gaps I need to fill. So if someone says to me, I want a tank unit that does XYZ, I go, okay, what do we have inside the tech tree? And then I look at the factions for the tanks. So it's very much what we've done here is I want an extra infantry unit. Okay, what can I get with what infantry? So survival suits. So obviously this is why everyone, sorry, I've got an itch on my face and it's annoying me. While Martyr Watch infantry troop is attacking the enemy, it gains 0.5% bunker damage resist per second, up to total of 5%. So you get harder to kill. Okay, so this is why a lot of people gravitate towards the Martyr from this, but also because they have the highest amount of HP as a faction-based unit. So the two combined make them very hard to kill, makes them very good at assaulting enemy bases. Vanguard Division. While Vanguard Division infantry troop is attacking, it gains 1% firepower per second up to 10% over 10 seconds, we're getting additional firepower. And of course, firepower affects our firing accuracy, it affects our rate of fire, it affects our damage, and it affects our skill damage as well. And Liberty reduces the prep time of the Liberty infantry smoke bomb. So that's their ability, is they get a smoke bomb in order to reset uh, damage incoming attack. So if you're fighting a tank, you can throw a smoke bomb and then effectively it resets the load time. Quite handy, very useful in a full utility build. Now, I don't have the officers awakened for a full utility build, but I do have 2 critical strike officers that are both versatile that I can use. So as Vanguard, getting a nice 10% firepower bonus here, that's quite useful. But I've also got most of the infantry tech done in the modern tree. We're right up to the very end before I abandoned this tree. But oh, hang on, this was the modern tree. I thought I was showing you the advanced tree. I'm an idiot. The smoke bomb is the Liberty's ability from the advanced tree, which, as you can see here, reduces the enemy's load time. We'll pretend that we're doing it the right way round. Conscripts, Martyr's infantry take 5% less normal attack damage and increase the damage resistance of all allied troops within their protection range by 1%. This is what I was trying to get to originally, which is increases the critical strike rate of the Vanguard's infantry division normal attacks by 5% and boosts the firepower of all allied troops within the protection bubble by 3%. So anything within the map grid of the infantry, which means if I stagger the infantry, the Vanguard, if I go Liberty, and then directly behind them I place my Vanguard, and then I'll have the artillery. When I attack the base, everyone's getting a bonus in defense and offense because of the Vanguard. But more importantly, we're getting a 5% critical strike rate. And if we look at the officers, let me just apply quickly, go into the officers. We are rocking a 4% plus a 10% plus a 10%. So we're rocking a total of 29% critical strike rating on Vanguard infantry, which is getting a bonus of 3% firepower. And it's also applying a very... Okay, cool. Thanks. Just get some stuff back. Modern units. The Vanguard infantry from the manuals. So here in the manual, we've got camp bonuses, enhanced firepower, and tank killer deals more damage to armored units than infantry from other camps, which is exactly what I want. Because when we're playing with this unit out in the field, we want to make sure that it is going to bring hell on earth to absolutely any tank within its range. Now, I don't have another set of versatile officers to replace on the Martyr, so I'll just have to run Martyr with the soak setup and hope that they go after the Martyr infantry having the most power and just being a dahoy and not really looking at what the unit can do. But I think what I've been trying to get across here is that I need the additional bunker fortification bonus. So every infantry bunker is capable of entering bunker mode. Sorry, every infantry unit is capable of entering bunker, which gives the bonus of fortified bunkers, which is everything within 2 map grids gets a 4% damage reduction. And this can stack up to 12 times. That includes the unit that is supplying it. So now we've got 2 lots of infantry in base to base. The Liberty infantry are getting 5%, remember, because they get the plus 1% from the tech tree, and we're getting an additional 4%. So we're getting 9% bonus damage resistance by having multiple infantry stacked. This is going to be very tasty both out in the field when we're fighting other people, and it's also going to be very nasty in base to base contact. The downside of this is obviously training. It's the train time, it's the financial cost of having to remove and then plug a unit and then rinse and repeat. Um, but yeah, that's the process. It's a bit chaotic. I look at what I want, what I need, what I have, and how can we somehow smash all of that together in some sort of coherent way, which isn't just me babbling like an incoherent, gibbering baboon. But when we look at this setup here, we've got two critical strike officers, and we've trained in critical strike, and we've got tech for critical strike, and it's all firepower and damage intensity, not to mention the double kicker from this officer combo is that we can reduce the target's damage resistance by 15% and then ignore it by a further 15% on attack as well. And we get a normal attack boost of 20%. Now, the normal attack boost of 20% is quite key because most of your critical strikes, when you're firing as rapidly as infantry fires, nearly all of your critical strikes can be coming from your normal attack, the machine guns. It's not going to be coming from the skill shots. So you're reducing their target resistance and increasing your normal attack, and your normal attack is just going to progressively get more and more dangerous. That's why it's set up in this particular way, and that's also why we've gone for the knuckle dusters. I mean, to be fair, it was on the ATG anyway, but that is beside the point. Normal attack boost. We're thinking about this infantry in terms of dealing critical strike, pop out attacks when we're being surrounded, and then maybe going for really hard hitting strikes there. So when we get into the conquest, I can immediately bring in a uh, a secondary infantry unit. So seal clubbing, as was put in the chat earlier, we'll see. I don't know if this is going to be any good. The proof is in the pudding. This could be a complete failure, or it could be absolutely amazing. The only way to find out is to just play it. Is to just play it. Now, that just leaves the final thought for this evening, which is my power drop. My power drop has gone down 100 million. So I've gone from 426 down to 326. And I am now running a fully capped and staffed Air Force, Navy, and Army. And the only officer left for me to do in my Navy is Rip Current, and we've got 41 statues on standby, and at reset we will be able to get him awakened, and then I'm going to work on my Air Force. There's going to be a lot of Air Force related content coming because I am going to be swapping these officers around. I'm going to be making them more efficient, and I am going to be awakening the remaining officers I don't have. Then I'll be going back to ground, where I'll be getting a bunch of versatile and infantry officers that I don't have, and a bunch of trained skills that I don't have. That I want like quite a few skills out of these trees that I currently don't have access to. I want to get Margarita awakened, Lonesome Star, as you can see, he's over halfway. I want to get him done. Bomb Princess, I do want to get her done. Vox, although I'm not really planning on using her, I think she'd be useful to have awakened regardless because of all of these different skills, very useful to have access to. Lady of Justice, I do want to have because we are thinking along the lines of what we can do with the critical strike build for the Vanguard. I would very much like Rogue Edge to be awakened. He's a great infantry officer. And also, while I'm at it, I'd actually like to get Iron Bastion because I think he'd be a pretty good. Hear me out, okay? I think this guy would be good on Martyr infantry, but specifically in the field because he'd act effectively as a anti-infantry with his skill damage, targeting fortifications with a bonus of up to 50%. I mean, to be fair, that's not particularly high, but when you're limited on access to how much skill damage you can deal through infantry specific officers, that's still not bad. And also, we get an AoE with him as well. So once he's awakened, we do hit additional enemy troops within additional map grids. So that is quite handy when you're out in the field. And you're able to absolutely pump damage. Iron Bastion, I do think, is a bit slept on. Not many people talk about him because his skill damage is so initially low, and you do have to basically awaken him to get him to the point where he's kind of worth talking about. At which point, there's a lot of other officers you can look at and go, I don't really know. I think other officers would be better. But in terms of splash damage availability for infantry, um, he's pretty good. And the same with Bomb Princess, also splash damage, and also Lonesome Star, again, splash damage. But I already have Lady of Shadow, but her splash damage is fairly limited, although she does hit like a goddamn truck. So we do have access to a lot of things, and that is where we're going with it going forwards. We're going to be building on our silver. Now, I do feel like I kind of let everyone down a little bit. I know there was a guy in my DMs from uh, I forget what alliance we're playing with. Jeebus. Who was it? NDS. Hello. Hello. Yes, you know who you are. You're in NDS. You did recognize me, and you were like, "Oh, I can't wait to see how well you do." And I did kind of warn you in the first week we're not going to be doing so well because everything is into soak. And spoiler alert, it didn't go well. And a big one for me was not having access to a full air force. I didn't realize how important that was until I entered this conquest. Now I've always harped on to my alliance leaders that I've been working with and other players that I've been playing with as time's gone on how important an air force is. I did not realize until I entered this conquest how important that was and how badly I was short selling it. An air force is so important now because I've said this before, you can now attack land and navy with your air. You can now shoot down the aircraft carrier bombers with your fighters. So your air force can attack anywhere on this map, making it incredibly, incredibly valuable in just unimaginable ways. And I kind of feel like that Air Force is not receiving the love from the devs that it kind of needs. It's so important, yet it's getting forgotten about. Now, that being said, obviously, Navy is literally 50% of the game, and that also is not receiving the love that it needs. So, I don't really want to see any more ground-based officers coming out. I don't want to see any more ground-based equipment coming out. I don't even want to see any ground-based skins. I know I just picked up the infantry skin right here live on stream for you guys, but I don't really need it. What we need is more stuff for the air quite desperately, and we need more stuff for the navy pretty badly. I mean, when you consider the amount of officers that are available, the amount of trained skills that you can do, it's not a lot. Um, and there could be so much to do there, especially with things like the sub or the anti-sub frigate, which kind of just get left by the wayside and forgotten about. And the subs are really important, guys. If I fought a guy sub main, they're so important. You can't afford to ignore them. I know everyone wants destroyers to wipe out bases and aircraft carriers to defend bases, but you don't really, guys. I mean, I'm waiting to see what some people can do with the anti-sub frigate. If I'm perfectly honest, I'm looking forward to that. I myself will be looking into it once they release more naval officers and we can do trained skills. That's when I'll start picking up the Navy content. But until that comes out, realistically, we're still in like the beta stages of Navy. It's only been 12 months, guys. You know, holy hell, hold your horses. Because it has. It's been 12 months since they've released the Navy, give or take, and we're still not got trainable skills. We've still not got enough officers. They've had 12 months to release a bunch of officers to bring it up to speed with the Air Force. And in that time, we've seen like maybe, what, six in total? I don't know. Anyway, I've been the Smoking Cheddar, and you guys have been very patient. Thank you all very much for tuning in this evening. I know it's not a unit build, or it kind of was because you got to see me build my own unit going into this coming up silver. So thank you all very much for being patient with me while I scatterbrain Janed all over that and didn't really have any coherent thought. Seriously, guys, you're the ones who need the medals. I don't know how you manage to sit there and listen to me. No clue. I've got no idea how you guys do it. I couldn't listen to me. Shit. God